Show me the thing! Welcome back to Feature Fan Builds. I am your host, Captain Xavier, and we're going to be showing off some builds that were sent in by some of my fans and subscribers, starting with this terrifying monstrosity, as made by Rodney. This is Doomslayer. It is a Nerf Rhino Fire with a Centurion stock integrated into it. It's got stock flywheels and stock flywheel motor, but a Honey Badger pusher. It has 2 switches in the back that go from 2S or 3S. It also has 2 small speakers inside with a cord to plug in a phone or iPod for theme music. And this thing is simply magnificent and terrifying, and I absolutely love it. I love the cosmetic work he's done with the skull and the ribcage and spinal column. That is fantastic and beastly and mean, and the paint job suits it wonderfully. That is just neat. Who's up next? Up next, we have a series of blasters created by Ralph. This long shot was apparently his first attempt at painting, and is an excellent job. He calls this Midas. He then created a pistol to match that he calls Icor, and then he has a tactical rough cut with a stock to round out the loadout, and I think they look fantastic together. Who's next? Up next, we have NPDe, and a pair of builds that he has submitted. This is his long shot. It has an alpha kit and a 13-kilogram spring, and an orange ModWorks metal trigger, and a worker pump grip. I really like the paint job. The weathering is very well done, and I like that shade of green. That is a lovely dark shade of green. His sidearm to go with it is a modified Night Finder that he calls Night Prowler. It has a doubled spring of unknown origin, but I also really like this paint job. It doesn't have any weathering yet. He says he might eventually. But again, an equally deep red that I think goes really well with the deep green of the previous one. I think they make a really nicely matched set together. So, well done there. Who's next? Up next, we have a pair of HVZ blasters made by Bunny. The modifications, the Strife has Neo Fangs with a 2S lipo, and then he has a hammer shot with the AR removed. He didn't do the modifications. Someone else did the modifications, but he hand-did these paint jobs, which I think look gorgeous. The Strife is orange that fades to white with his bunny and dragon symbols on it, because he likes bunnies and dragons, apparently. And then the hammer shot goes from white and fades into orange, and has the similar bunny theme to it, and they complement each other beautifully. And they are, of course, fantastic options for HVZ. You've got your semi-automatic, magazine-fed blaster, as well as a hammer-primed sidearm, which are very good options for HVZ, in my opinion. So, well done. I approve thoroughly. Who's next? The next build was submitted by RZT4097, and it is a lever-action Kronos with a Slingfire stock integrated into it. And not only do I really like the color combination, the white and the blue, but that's just a really neat and clever way of going about making a lever-action blaster. Having it all external like that, using the metal rods and leverage and stuff, I think it's very creatively designed, and I'd love to see this thing in action sometime. Who's next? Up next, we have a fairly simple but well-executed paint job by Aiden on his X-Shot Rapid Fire. It has had the AR removed, and it does have a spring upgrade. And I really like how this paint job came out, especially like what he did on the barrel and the trigger. It looks like he used one of those metallic spray paints that automatically adds kind of a hammered look to it. I use that for some of the brass painting that I've done. And yeah, I think it looks really nice. The usual warning of you should always have orange on the barrel for safety reasons, but if this is being used for cosplay, then it's a excellent, very simple military-looking design, so I like that. Well done. Who's next? Up next, we have another fairly simple series of paint jobs done by Jack. As far as the mods go, they've just had their safeties disabled using paint, and then he used spray paint to get this effect. And at first I thought it kind of looked like he didn't actually finish the paint jobs, but then I realized that, no, what I think he was going for was a smoke-damaged look. because he did in fact remove the orange parts for the most part on that Strife, or taped them or whatnot, so he didn't get any of the paint on that, so it's a clean paint job, and it's clearly intentional. And then you look at how it's kind of faded back through, and some of the blue is covered and some of it doesn't, and yeah, it looks like they were in either a fire or an explosion or something, and there's a lot of smoke damage on them, and I really kind of like how that effect came out, so that's really neat. Who's next? Here we have a really simple modification to a Strife done by SammyBoy1113, and what he has done is added an external battery tray that holds an additional 2 AA's so that he can increase the voltage by 50%, and other than that, keep everything else stock. And it's actually a fairly ingenious way to improve the voltage on your system without having to go to like trust fires or IMRs or anything like that. This allows him to just use standard AA's, but to get an improvement to the performance. So I think that's pretty neat. Well done. Who's next? Up next we have a build by Nerf Jaeger, and it is a Busby Rangemaster integrated into a long strike. And I absolutely think that is fantastic, because I'm not a big fan of the look of the Rangemaster, but I do like the ergonomics of the long strike. And there's not a whole lot you can do with the long strike since it's reverse plunger, but putting these internals in there I think is a really neat way to go about getting a slightly more decent blaster. It's been singled for elites, so I don't know what kind of ranges it's getting, but I think it's a beautiful idea, and I really like the concept. So well done, Nerf Jaeger. Who's next? The next two were built by the Dark Knight, and I'm guessing that they're costume pieces or cosplay pieces. This first one is a modified Strikefire, or Crossfire, depending on where you are and what it was called when it was released. But he's added a longer barrel, and he's added a scope, and it kind of looks like a small version of Han Solo's blaster. Vaguely. There's obviously a lot of little cosmetic differences, or really a lot of big cosmetic differences, but I really like how this one came out. I like how he did the scope, and I like how he did the barrel and the cross on the rope there. Very cool. And the paint job, I love just the little bit of red right where it is beautifully accents the whole build in general. No orange tip, but like I said, this looks like it's more for a cosplay or something along those lines, because it would be very difficult to actually load and fire this blaster, and there's not a whole lot of performance potential in that particular blaster, but the way he's done the cosmetics is absolutely gorgeous. The next one, similarly, also doesn't have an orange tip and is, clearly has kind of a steampunk feel about it with the gears on the outside and the paint job. It looks like almost a snakeskin pattern on the main part, and I think that's, again, absolutely beautiful, and I love how he did that. And then the presentation on both of these, the backdrop that he has the pictures taken in is clearly kind of shows a professional level of photography, and so I suspect these are costume builds. So very beautiful, both of them. So well done there. Who's next? This next one was submitted by Bossness, and it doesn't have any internal modifications, but he has done a little bit of cosmetic work on both the stock and the barrel. The barrel, he's added a metal tube that's wide enough that it won't cause any kind of barrel drag, and then he's done a little bit of cosmetic work on the stock, adding a recon slide and the back of a recon stock to give it a little bit more length and just to give it a little bit more substance and shape to it. And then he's painted those parts up a little bit, and I think it came out a little nice. Again, I would recommend putting at least a little orange on the tip of the barrel, just for safety reasons, for to keep the hobby and yourself safe in general. But everything else is bright enough. I mean, it shouldn't really be a problem, but laws are different depending on where you live, so you might want to look into that. But other than that, I really like the way you modified the stock. I like the added substance and the length to that. I think that's a really creative way to do that. So well done there. Next! This next one was created by Jedi Knight, and was apparently created specifically so that it could be featured on this series, which is really neat. And what he's done is taken a Rapid Red and a Sharpfire stock, and integrated them and added a little bit of barrel to create a real simple AK-47 kind of look. And I really kind of like it. I love the the Rapid Red in general, just the smooth curves and all of that that the Rebel line has, and adding that extended barrel I think actually looks really nice. And the banana mag, of course, looks fantastic in this one. Using the Sharpfire stock like that is actually really creative too. I haven't seen a lot of people use that particular stock in integrations, so yeah, I think it came out really nice. Again, orange tip, but all of that for safety reasons. But other than that, it's a beautiful, beautiful build. Who's next? Now this next one is one that I absolutely and thoroughly approve of. This is a build by Peter, and it is a Night Finder integrated into one of the old laser tag blasters, which is absolutely fantastic. He had to do a lot of internal work to clear out all of the original shell, and then find ways to actually attach everything and get the catch to engage and all of that, and the way it came together is absolutely beautiful. This was apparently one of his, I think he said it was his first attempt at doing a brass breech, and apparently it works magnificently. He was able to do the priming handle back there in where the battery would be, remove the battery door, and it sticks out right there, which looks great. It's upside down, so you can reach in and catch it and hook it, and yeah, just a really creative idea, very similar to all the Nintendo ones I've been doing. I've never tried to do one with laser tag, though, so I think that came out really, really neat. Next! This next one was built by Oreo, and I don't have all the details on what's going on the inside, but it is a Kronos that has been modified to fire half-darts, and then a really long barrel and kind of a muzzle brake looking setup there that I think came out really quite excellently. I'd love to know what kind of performance this gets. I don't know, he doesn't appear to have done the magazine build for it, so I don't know if it's just a single top breech load or how exactly this one works. He referred to it as a sniper pistol, so a single shot would be perfectly appropriate for that, and I think it came out looking really nice. I of course thoroughly approve of the paint job, so well done there. Next! Last but certainly not least, we have an entire arsenal submitted by Hayden from Australia, and he's actually provided all of the specifications, so hopefully I can get them to pop up and you'll be able to read them. But this first one is a long shot using an air tank and a long brass, or a conduit breech rather than a brass breech, which I understand they actually have conduit in Australia that is exactly the right inside diameter, which I've never been able to find here in the States, so that is really neat, and I would suspect probably cheaper than brass. Obviously, as you can see from the stats, it hits it's really powerful, so that's pretty neat. Next, we have what he refers to as his Ghetto Strife, which has been fully rewired and has an afterburner on the end that you can see there. And then it has speakers so that you can play music, and has a voltmeter and all the usual bells and whistles that you get from your flywheel blaster. So that one's kind of an interesting cosmetic and aesthetic look. After that, we have a brass-breeched fire strike for half darts that has a breech cut out in the side there. The light itself has been removed, as well as the dart holders, but it's got a pull-open breech for half darts, and again, as you can see by the specs, it's really quite impressive as well. It's got some LEDs in it to light it up, which is also just really quite pretty. Then, most of you know my views on Stravens, but I decided to go ahead and feature this one anyway, because this one is really pretty. The integration work is absolutely excellent. The color and paint job are well done and well chosen, and then he has this gorgeous case to hold it all. He admits that, yeah, this one was built, this is an old build, and so yeah, it was before we realized that ultrafires and trustfires were a horrible idea. And yeah, he's moved on to better batteries and so forth now, but this was an old build, like when he made this case, and the presentation is beautiful, even if Stravens are, of course, a horrible heresy and an affront to the gods of war. At least he made it look good. And last but not least, he has a tactical rough cut in a style I don't know that I've seen before. I've seen using a retaliator or a recon to add the stock, but or the stock mount, but the way he's done his stock, he's got a retaliator stock with a reflex built into it. Though in this picture it doesn't look like it has its internals, so I don't know what exactly is going on there, but it's neat looking and I like it. So, well done, Hayden. So that finishes up for this episode. I decided to try to do 15 instead of 10 because I have somewhere in the vicinity of 100 submissions right now, and getting more pretty much every day, so it's going to take me a while to get through the backlog. I've been trying to do them first come, first serve. Accidentally, this group came from right in the middle because I didn't realize there was a whole nother page of submissions, so this was from 50 to 100 instead of 1 to 50, so anyway. Don't worry, if you haven't been featured, I will eventually get to everybody, I hope. I don't know how long it's going to take me. Right now I've got enough to do the next 10 months worth, so do feel free to continue to submit your blasters. You can submit them just to my commission email address. Put fan build submission or something in there to indicate that that's what it is, and be sure to have some pictures and an explanation, whatever you would like me to refer to you, whatever name you want to go with, nickname, handle, whatever. If you have any names for the blasters, if you want to tell me a story about it, where it's been used, how it's built, what its internals are, anything like that, go ahead and throw that in there, and I will feature it eventually. I won't always actually respond that I've gotten your email. I try to just respond to, just neat or nice or hooray or that's awesome, whatever, just so you know that I got it and you don't have to keep sending it. So there you have it. All of these were really, really cool. There were some great integrations and some silly integrations and some great paint jobs. Love seeing what you guys have built. I get lots of good ideas, and if I use any of your ideas, I'll try to make sure that I give you credit. But yeah, so there you have it. Another excellent episode of Featured Fan Builds. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you guys for watching.